are coming to you live from $1 Million Studios. Your boys, Chris Speez.
You know, I'm going to do a new thing right now because I'm just being nice and it's the Christmas season. I won't find a weird way to call you white. Merry Christmas.
And the benchmark of professional wrestling, Mr. Silky Baines.
What's going
the
on?
Benchmark show on a Thursday night, December the 20th, 2018.
2 days away from my birthday.
2 days away from the Benchmark's birthday. Thank you all for being with us. Everybody on Periscope and over on the YouTubes, we welcome you guys. And a special hello to all of you listening to us after the fact on the podcast. iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, you know the deal. Anywhere you can hear
Milky.
your
There we
favorite
go.
podcasts. You can hear the Speez and the Benchmark show. Milky?
Yeah. I honestly hadn't thought about it, and so you caught me by surprise. So now I thought about something. Milky is what we're going with.
You're going with
Milky.
AKA Milky. Okay,
Yeah.
then. Now that we got that. Jesus. You can chip into the cause, as always, if you will open this up in the Periscope app.
Boom.
And drop some of those super hearts. That has helped us out
super
enormously. And, of course, you can always head over to the tip jar, tinyurl.com/SB tip jar. Either way, you're contributing to help us take care of all the costs to produce this show because, as Silky likes to say,
These bills need to get paid.
indeed they do. And, of course, if you want to get in on the conversation tonight, 832-937-4559
I've already derailed the show.
is the number to get in. That's 832-93-SILKY since he's on a different planet.
832-93-SILKY.
Goodness gracious. So, good to have everybody with us. Silky, have you handled your Christmas shopping yet?
I have not.
You actually, okay, I was going to say. Because I don't do that shit until like literally New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve, and my wife freaks out. But I've got to do it all in one go. Like I don't fuck around and do it over the course of the whole month. I don't understand how people do that. I guess it's just my ADHD, but like when I get started, I just want to get it all knocked out on the same go and be done with it.
But then you got to wrap it and stuff, so that makes for late.
Yeah, I don't have shit to do on Christmas Eve anyway. And I stay up late. My family goes to bed early, so it's not like...
Oh, see, but my wife is the one that does the wrapping, so...
Oh, okay. Are you not a Christmas wrapper? You can't...
Oh, I mean, I can wrap a gift. It would look like my kids wrapped it, but, I mean, technically, yes, it would be wrapped.
How many of you out there wrap your own Christmas presents? I'm talking to the guys. Is it sexist to assume that the women wrap their own gifts?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. Well, you ladies, too. Do you wrap your own gifts as well? I mean, I wrap my gifts. Luckily, I'm getting to the point to where my son kind of just wants cash and gift cards and shit like that. So it's just like envelope, done.
There you go.
And that's good. It's Rapper's Delight. Michael Berry
God
Sr.
damn it. Now the song's going to be stuck in my
Milky
head.
on her face and Rapper's Delight. It's, hey, Liam, all the way from across the pond with us here tonight. Shout out to you, Bobaruski. Revision is booking. Michael Berry Sr., NoFX fan, Bobaruski, all the good folks. Bert Macklin, wishing you a happy early birthday. How about that, Silky? So, I mentioned in the title of the program here tonight, one of the things we wanted to talk about was SmackDown Live, because we haven't gotten there yet. Obviously, you've no doubt seen our Raw review from this week. If you haven't, head on over to the YouTubes and check that out. tinyurl.com/Speez benchmark and subscribe on the YouTubes. Subscribers are going well, man.
Yeah.
Hey, do us a favor. You know what your Christmas present can be to your boys, Speez and the Benchmark?
Money.
Hit up, not, well, okay, money would be okay, but you could also reach out to your friends who are wrestling fans and say, hey, you know what? I noticed you're not in the chat room for the Speez and the Benchmark show. How about you go subscribe to these guys and help us get this subscriber count up?
Boom.
That's
would be
free.
A good one. But
I'm not gonna
also
insist.
acceptable.
Well, of course.
Or buy the shirt.
Or you could buy. Oh, check it out.
Boom.
Oh, so I got yours over here. Yeah. There it is, right there. Look at it. I just shipped another one off today to our boy Anthony from Get the Tables. Check it out. The Warning Heel Turn Imminent T-shirt. Look at that. That's a beauty. I just wanted him to show him the whole thing there. You know, that's right there.
Why the fuck am I holding up a shirt?
Okay, well, it's fine.
Anyway,
Heel Turn Imminent T-shirt. Check it out. Official Speez and the Benchmark merchandise that you can get. All you got to do is send us a message on Twitter at Speez Benchmark on Twitter. Send us a message. Let us know what size. We'll take it from there. $20. It is it's the gift that keeps on giving is what it is. Silky.
Yes.
Smoot6985, welcome to you, sir. 316 all day. Oh, what the fuck? Wrestling fans on Periscope shook. Oh, okay. Thank you, Sage Mode. So good to have all you guys with us here tonight. So, Babaruski's mama does the rapping.
Sage Mode said
Sage Mode, get yourself a shirt, man. Hit us up on Twitter, @Speez Benchmark. We'll get your shirt sent your way. So, we talked about Raw on Monday night and the shakeup that's coming, all the new things that are coming from the McMahon family, or so they would have you believe.
Yeah.
What we didn't talk about was SmackDown Live, obviously, but the first segment we had Becky Lynch and Charlotte come out. Vince McMahon comes out, tells them both to quit whining. Asuka's in the ring, blah, 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 blah. We get a women's title match, SmackDown Live women's title match between Asuka and Naomi, which was nice to see Naomi in a prime spot on the program again. But Asuka scores the win, and I tweeted this out on Tuesday, and I'm wondering how many people actually know this. With that win, in the first 48 hours of her title reign, Asuka now has as many successful title defenses as Becky Lynch had for her entire title run.
Well, I mean,
that
if
would
you
be
want to split hairs.
That would be one.
Well, no, if you want to split hairs, it's always, long as you're still the champ, it's successful. Whether you win or lose, or whether you win, get DQ'd.
Well, title defenses, successful title defenses. Okay, we'll put it this way. Title victories.
There
we'll put it that way. Title victories, one. And it got me to thinking, might be an interesting topic of conversation for tonight, because if you listen to public sentiment when it comes to Becky Lynch, everybody is on fire for Becky Lynch. Just about everybody. Very few people seem to be disappointed with what's going on with Becky Lynch. Everybody loves it. And more power to her. She's been great. She's been great on the mic. She's been great on Twitter. If you follow her on Twitter, you're no doubt
game is savage.
It's savage. I don't know if you saw what she did to Lars Sullivan earlier today. Did you happen to see that?
No, I did not.
Holy shit. So she's doing one of her things where, she's talking shit with Rhonda and blah, 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 and says, I'm just a something freak or something or other. And Lars Sullivan responds and says, no, I'm the freak. Just injects himself right into the middle of this little Twitter thing between Rhonda and Becky. And Becky retweets the meme of Conor McGregor going, who the fuck is that guy? And Lars deleted his tweet and said, just got owned by the man on Twitter. It happens.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Who is that fucking guy? It was so perfect, man. It was great. But anyway.
What a way to kill yourself before you even get started.
So great. It was so great. Yes, Sage Mode, she was injured, and she has been a monster on Twitter. I agree. But the question is, how great was Becky Lynch's title reign? Because if you judge it by
matches,
here's the extent of Becky Lynch's reign as SmackDown Live Women's Champion, this most recent reign. Obviously, her second go-round as champion. She had a successful title defense against Charlotte in the last woman standing match. She had a loss to Charlotte. Now, it was a DQ loss, but a loss to Charlotte nonetheless at the Super Showdown in Australia. And she had a match against Charlotte in SmackDown Live that ended in a double countout. So, basically a draw. So if you throw in the loss to Asuka at TLC, Becky Lynch's record as SmackDown Live Women's Champion was 1 win, 2 losses, and a draw. She actually had a losing record as SmackDown Live Women's Champion. So I'll ask this question to you, Silky, and to those of you in the chat room as well. Does it take some of the luster off of her title reign? Because we've all been talking about how hot Becky Lynch is, and she's the hottest person in the company. Seth Rollins has been saying it. All these, everybody on Twitter has been talking about how magnificent she is. When you look at the title run in and of itself, when it comes to the wrestling part of it anyway, it really wasn't all that spectacular. Is it fair to say that it wasn't a spectacular title run simply because of the outcomes of the matches that she had?
No, because, had you not brought that up, I don't think we'd be really thinking about that. Like, I hadn't thought about, what her actual record was until you just brought it up. So I don't think it's really takes away from it because it's more of the impact. She made statements without, having to wrestle that much because of the injury and because whatever they didn't book her to, actually defend it much. She was like they say, she was a monster on Twitter. She was fire on the promos. Like she commanded the room. All eyes were on her. So, I mean, it's one of those things where I think sometimes people can go too far into looking into it just to find a little chink in whatever the armor is. But I think she's still as hot as she was before. It's just, I'm wondering now, how do they play this? Because now that she's lost and they're trying to make Charlotte the heel, and it really doesn't work with both of them being heel. So they're really trying to transition her to that Austin, like, still does what she want to do, still has the same attitude, but fans just love her.
Exactly. And let me come back to that in a minute because I want to get caught up on the chat room here. England says Vince basically recognizing Becky's shit growing tired and hitting eject. I don't know that he's hitting eject on it just yet, but
we'll see her. I mean, there's still a good chance we will see Becky Lynch in the main event at WrestleMania.
Oh, yeah, definitely a shot there. Smoot, we'll get to your question about Seth and Brock Lesnar here shortly. But, yeah, the Lars Sullivan thing was hilarious. You guys need to check it out. So, shout out to you, Young Raph. Good to see you here. And Michael Berry Singer brings up an interesting point. This was a question I was going to ask you as well. There are a lot of people who will say, and thank you, Jeffrey Cross, for the Super Hearts. We appreciate that. And by the way, folks, if you haven't shared the program yet on Periscope, if you wouldn't mind hitting that share button and helping to get some more folks in here, that would be great. Michael Berry Sr. says what I think a lot of people feel, and that's that she doesn't necessarily need the belt. And we say that about a lot of people. She doesn't need the belt. She's big enough without the belt. How long can you be a big deal without being in the major title picture for your division?
I mean, as long as you're still that big of a deal. I mean, Austin, towards the end, wasn't really in the title picture. Hell, he was wrestling like fucking Scott Hall and shit, but he was still a big deal.
I mean, I wouldn't put her in Austin's class. I understand what you're saying.
I'm just using that, like, long as you're popular and the fans are still digging what you're doing, sometimes, yeah, you don't need the title. And I think the title, they kind of botched her run from the word go. Like, I get her losing and then winning. Like, she won it in such an unspectacular fashion at Hell in a Cell. And then she did have the amazing. I mean, this is to take nothing away from the matches that Becky Lynch has had. Yeah, they were all great matches. The last woman standing match was amazing. Yeah. The TLC match was pretty damn good as well. Yeah. And you know the other two were kind of throwaways in my opinion. The one down at Super Showdown in Australia where it looked like she was about to lose and she just decided, what the hell, I'm gonna get myself disqualified so I don't lose. And the other one. I mean, that was perfect for the heel that she was compared to at that time Charlotte. They weren't portraying Charlotte the way they are now. No, I agree. And so like I said, it was a perfect finish. I just wouldn't hold it up as a great match, especially when you compare it to the other ones because the other ones were so good. But I just, I looked at it and I said to myself, holy shit, like I cannot believe that, because she also had a non-title match against Lana, which she picked up the win. She had the non-title match against Nikki Cross when Nikki Cross came up from NXT and had that surprise match against her. But that's it. I mean, you're essentially looking at 6 matches as champion. 4 of them were title defenses, and she lost 2 of them. So what does it say about us as wrestling fans that a champion can have a losing record with the belt and we still go, yeah, but it was still a great run? I mean, shouldn't your record in the ring, and I'm asking you because you're a wrestler, should your record in the ring have more of a bearing on how good your title run is perceived in the grand scheme of things? No, it's about the story you're telling. That's what it's really about. I mean, when I first won my first title, I think I lost almost every match prior to me winning a title. But after that, I was stringing there were some losses, the non-title situations. I think I held the belt for almost a year and defended it like 5 times. So, but it was still looked on as a successful title reign because I got the point of whatever storyline they handed me. I got that point across. I got you. I don't think, this is wrestling. If wins and losses fucking mattered, there'd actually be someone that calculated who has a better record. But they have to matter. Wins and losses have to matter. They don't.
See, I totally think they have to matter. Hold on one second. I want to come back to it because Jody said it got lonely on YouTube, and I just pulled up the YouTube chat. So shout out to you, MGB. Glad to see you're on holiday, so you can join us. He's usually listening to us after the fact, so thanks for being live with us. And Red Leaf Retrocast says, strange we never saw Lynch win with the disarm her as the champ. I don't know that she ever used that as the finish.
Yeah, no, she did.
Certainly not in the Charlotte matches because, like I said, the only match that she won was the last woman standing match, which she didn't need to do that. Nobody's title run means much these days in WWE, says Michael Berry Sr. That's, that's not an altogether unfair statement. Title runs in the WWE are like noses. Everybody has one. Someone could be on top of the world, but could drop the title after day one. And here's another thing, because there's a great website, Pro Wrestling Database. It's a spot that I go to just to kind of keep up with what matches people have had, because it lists every match that folks have. And I got into a conversation in a chat room about Brock Lesnar. And one of the things that, and my take on this, those of you who are joining us for the first time, I don't have a huge problem with Brock Lesnar not defending the title very often, because I think it's a big deal when he does defend the title. But I went back and looked at his record since he won slightly before he won the Universal title. Basically went back to the beginning of 2016, so the last 3 years. Brock's had 30 matches, not counting the 2 Royal Rumbles, so 30 matches in all. How many of those matches do you think Brock Lesnar has won?
29?
Close. 27. He had 2 losses to Roman Reigns.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm not going back far enough. 2
losses to Roman Reigns, and the loss to Goldberg at Survivor Series when he got squashed by Goldberg and dropped the Universal title there. 27-3 over a 3-year period. And my argument was this. If you want to make these belts mean something, and you want to make these championship matches mean something, why not have a guy that goes on a 27-3 run step up and challenge Brock Lesnar?
Because no one keeps fucking track of that.
But here's the thing. Because how many times do guys fall victim, and somebody said it in the chat room here, to this 50-50 booking, and the only reason they get a title shot is because they win some gimmick match. They win Royal Rumble, or they win Elimination Chamber, or they win some manner of qualifying match to get the title run. Don't you think guys going on runs and having builds as challengers, because you've said this before on the show, the WWE doesn't do the best job of building challengers for these championship belts. And really, the only one that you can say that for is Brock Lesnar. They don't build good challengers for Lesnar because he's the only one that has a fucking decent title run. And that's part of what I was getting at with Becky Lynch.
I mean, it's one of those, like, which one's more? Like Becky, who made a lot of impact in a good way and may not have had the best record, or Brock, who had a phenomenal record but really didn't have the impact because he hardly ever defended the title.
But would you say that Lesnar's, and this is an interesting question, I'm just throwing it out loud as I'm thinking about it right now. I get more hyped up for a Brock Lesnar title defense because to me, when he shows up, it's a big deal.
I don't.
It's a big deal. Now, it'd be a much bigger deal if they actually put somebody against him that you look at and you go, okay, this guy has a legitimate shot of winning. I mean, what's the one guy that you and I talk about all the time who we thought had a legitimate shot of beating Brock Lesnar? It was Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
And Samoa Joe got his one shot, and he hasn't won shit since then. Samoa Joe's, that poor bastard hadn't won a pay-per-view match in forever. But he hasn't really had that much of a, hefty challenger because, again, we see guys that lose 50-50 matches. They win one, they lose one, so on and so forth. It just feels like there's not any kind of momentum. And how else, for you saying that wins and losses don't matter, how else are you going to build momentum for guys in the company aside from wins and losses?
Because what you have to do is consider all aspects of the work. Not just the matches, but what happens in promos and vignettes and all of that. That all has to be taken into account. So you can get someone to make someone a strong challenger and really only give them like 1 or 2 wins, depending on the story. Like if you're trying to build up a baby face to chase a heel champ, all he needs is that one major win, whether it be over the champion in a non-title situation or over a former champion, like as an upset.
See, but I think that's what we've been getting up to this point, and to me, that's why it doesn't feel like as big a deal. That's why I don't I don't see guys like Braun Strowman or Kevin Owens, or, Owens is just a guy that I'm picking off the top of my head. But, that's why I don't see these guys, Dean Ambrose, when he had the shot at Lesnar and so on and so forth. That's why I don't give these guys much of a shot because, again, it seems like, yeah, they win a couple matches going into the pay-per-view, but then you're up against this fucking juggernaut who's lost 3 matches in 3 years, and there's no fucking way that guy's going to win. So I'm just curious.
You can't really use Lesnar as an example because that's like something totally different.
Thank you for the Super Hearts Live Mantis, by the way.
Yes.
So you think that Lesnar's the exception and not the rule?
Pretty much. I mean, Lesnar is just a once in a lifetime thing. I don't think we really see that again. Like the way the run they build. This was a conservative, like going back to, like I say, as far back as him breaking the streak. When he broke that streak and did it in the fashion that he did, that was a setup to what was going to be him dominating. Because before then, think about it. He was wrestling fucking Triple H.
That's true.
And winning, and like back to the 50-50. He won at the SummerSlam, lost at Mania, won at Extreme Rules. Like, then he lost to, or he, beat John Cena beat him. Like, he wasn't the monster that he was. It started when he beat The Undertaker. And then after that, it was going to John Cena and taking the title, and not only taking the title, but basically squashing
the shit out of him. Exactly.
Basically squashing him. So they built up Brock Lesnar to that point where it was going to take something like Roman Reigns and to beat him.
So let me ask you this question then. We know that they can build a star because they've done it with Brock Lesnar. Now, you can argue that his UFC popularity has something to do with the fact that he's as big a star that he is. I don't know that I'd necessarily agree, but there are people who will say that he's got more, he's going to bring in more fans because of that. But the question I have is, if you can build a star like Brock Lesnar the way that you're talking about, why can't they do it with anybody else? Why don't they build anybody else the way that they build Brock Lesnar?
Because, we can't, not everyone can be superstars.
I agree, but you're saying Brock Lesnar is one of a kind. We can't make 1 or 2 other guys that are similar to him that, God forbid, those 2 guys eventually get together and have this huge match that we're...
No, because it's a whole different ball game now than it was, years ago when, like, I saw someone mention Hogan in the chat, like, when Hogan, you built for that Hogan and Macho Man fucking clash.
Right.
Nowadays, they think about the money of, well, if I have a Hogan and a Macho Man, I don't need to cross them because I can make more money from 2 sides of having Hogan fight with someone and Macho Man fight with someone. So it's pretty much now a business decision, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, it very much is a business decision. There's no question about that. Mr. Bagshaw said why is the only person whose record is ever stated is Kurt Hawkins?
Yeah.
That's an interesting point. Real quickly in the chat room, yes or no, do wins and losses matter in professional wrestling? Right here now today, you as a fan, do you think wins and losses matter in professional wrestling? Because I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Jeffrey Gross says Brock is boring, but I get it. It sucks because they aren't using the star power to make a new star, says Sage Mode.
And they did. They used his star power to make Roman Reigns.
But you could argue, again, Reigns takes enough losses to where you'd say, look at how many times Reigns had to fight Lesnar before he finally beat Lesnar.
Yeah.
That's, I don't know. It seems like if you can do it with Brock, it seems like you can do it with other people. And that's partly why I was surprised to see that Becky Lynch's title run, going back to that, was from a wins and losses standpoint as lackluster as it was, because you have the opportunity with somebody who's so popular with the fans already. Why not give her a long-ass run where she beats everybody and establish her as this big star? And then you bring somebody up, whether it's Asuka, whether it's Charlotte again, whether it's Ronda Rousey, whether it's somebody coming up from NXT, so that when somebody finally does knock Becky Lynch off, that's a huge deal. And there you're already well on your way to establishing your next star.
But the way I look at it is this. Becky rose to popularity from taking fucking losses. So let's not forget that. You know,
well, and what
fans got because the wins and losses don't matter to the fans. The fans knew she had talent, and they loved what she was doing in the ring, and they gripe because they were like, "You're not giving this person a fair shake. This person can be the person that can carry your company," and that's when they finally listened. You know, we got this rise in popularity of Becky Lynch.
I think it all started from she snapped and she said, "Enough of this shit. I'm tired of sharing the spotlight. I'm tired of taking these losses while somebody like Charlotte consistently gets pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed." And that was when people were like, "Fucking A right." Like, I would argue that people said, "I don't know what that feels like. Somebody else is stealing my spotlight, and I want to kick the shit out of them."
But wasn't that after she took the loss and jumped her at SummerSlam?
At SummerSlam, yes.
Yeah, so that was still predicated on the loss thing. She was taking all these losses, but the fans didn't care because by your thing, wins or losses matter, she shouldn't even got a fucking title shot.
Well, the
Can't
fact that
tell
she
you
kept,
the last time she won.
No, but the fact that she kept losing is what got everybody so pissed off about it. And it was when she finally...
if wins and losses really mattered, even though the fans love it, if you're losing, you're losing. Like in basketball, there are diehard fucking San Francisco 49ers fans. My uncle is one. But they've won one fucking game, or they won like 3 games in 2 fucking years.
Yeah.
So that doesn't... Wins and losses don't mean shit. You think, are they going to play for the Super Bowl just because their fans love them, even though they keep losing?
Let's go to a New Japan example. Redleaf says, wins and losses do matter. It's a huge part of the redemption story for Tanahashi, where he hasn't lost since his G1 loss to Jay White, as an example.
But, I mean, apples and oranges. That's New Japan. New Japan, that does matter a little bit more. Because they're more traditional on the spirit of competition, so that's why they have things like the G1.
So you're not talking wins. When you say wins and losses don't matter, you're talking about within the confines of WWE, not pro wrestling as a whole.
Well, no, I'm still saying like pro wrestling wins and losses don't matter because that's a fucking storyline.
Well, he also brings up, he says, wins, losses seem to matter in RPW, Progress, WXW, etc., so they can build stars. Can't build a new promotion star with them losing all the time.
I mean, that is true. They can't, I mean, well, actually, Becky would be the exception. She became a star from fucking losing. So, wins and losses, like, those are all storyline. I get what they're saying, but those are all storylines. Wins and losses don't fucking matter. Because if wins and losses matter, my pay would be different when I won versus when I lost. My pay is the same whether I win or fucking lose. So wins and losses don't matter. The reason they make it doesn't matter, or it has to not matter, is because you'd lose the work of it. Because no one wants to fucking purposely... Like, if wins and losses mattered and you made money depending on your record, no one's going to go out there and fucking lose.
I understand that. No, I understand that.
So, wins in wrestling, pro wrestling, wins and losses do not matter.
See, I disagree. I think if you're going to build a star, that star's got to win, and he's got to win a lot, and he's got to win often. Let's see. But lots of you in the chat room disagree. Lit Mantis says wins and losses don't matter. Bobaruski says no. Jody says no. England says depends. Mr. Politics, who has tipped in on the tip jar in the past. We appreciate you being back, sir. He says yes. If wins and losses mattered, then why is no one talking about how Becky lost 8 straight pay-per-view matches? And yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier.
And to Redleaf, who said Becky went on a win streak all summer. I mean, she wrestled on fucking SmackDown and got a few, but I wouldn't call it a win streak all summer. She went like it was strategically placed. She started winning and where they were surprised. Like she won, then she won again. Oh my God. After the third, they're like, Becky's on a hot streak. And now the fan perspective is Becky's on a hot streak. She's winning. So it wasn't all that big of a streak that she had before SummerSlam.
Becky Lynch is the exception and not the rule. You know, Sage Mode says your pay will rise with wins from merchandising and other stuff, if nothing else, because people like to get behind winners.
No, people like to get behind the people that relate to them. There's a reason, like, your biggest stars in the modern era were all stars you could fucking relate to.
Stone Cold being the guy who hates his fucking boss and kicks the shit out of him.
Becky Lynch, the more current example of no matter who you are, guy or girl, You relate to knowing you're good, just as good or better, and then there's someone else because of who they are and whatnot that seems to get all the opportunities, and no one's you're in their shadow.
So in the day when we're talking, sorry to interrupt you, but back in the day when we were building stars like Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant and Macho Man, who I don't fucking relate to Hulk Hogan in the slightest, or Macho Man or any of those guys. Those guys were larger than life. They were just, you know, I mean, they were kind of like superheroes.
I mean, the business has changed since then, though.
So you're saying
back then, yes, you had to be larger than life. You had to have people look at you and say, "Oh my God, I can never be that. I want to watch that." But nowadays, it's changed. It's really, you generally gravitate to the person that is closest to you, to what's your situation, what you go through. That's who you gravitate to. So it's not about wins or losses, because and like I say, Becky proved that it's not about wins or losses, because she lost more than she won. Hell, even her title reign, she lost more than she won.
This is true.
But she's still on top. She's still in the conversation.
Maybe
we're still here talking right now that there is a good chance she will be one of the first woman to ever main event WrestleMania. And let's talk about how big that is for her, because not too long ago when they were talking women main event in WrestleMania, it was almost foregone that it'd be Ronda and Charlotte.
Yeah, exactly. And now Becky's inserted herself into the conversation. And maybe it's just wishful thinking on my part that you actually treat this as a sporting event. And I know the cat's out of the bag and you're never going to put it back in. And so we know that it's a work, but at the same time, I don't feel like you're pandering to me. I don't feel like you're treating me like an idiot. If you're going to say, hey, this guy's won a shit ton of matches, he deserves a title shot. This guy's won a shit ton of matches, he deserves to be the champ. I don't have a problem, and I would prefer, personally as a fan, that that's the way that they treat it. The guys who win the most get the most opportunities. I mean, and it seems like nowadays it just...
And Mr. Pollard has brought up CM Punk. Think about it. That's one I forgot about. He was getting popular, but when did his popularity reach its zenith? When he cut that fucking promo on the stage, airing out all his grievances, which is, again, an act that people can relate to. So now it's the relation.
Now, CM Punk also had the longest title reign in the modern era, so you could argue that the reason that promo made more sense is because they had built him up as this underdog guy who's not larger than life, who's a small guy, and he beat fucking everybody for a year and a half, but he never got his opportunity to main event WrestleMania. He never got this opportunity or that opportunity, depending on, you know, how much of what he says you believe.
Well, I mean, he had the longest title reign in history, so he had big matches at WrestleMania. He was arguing semantics over he wanted the last spot, the closing spot of WrestleMania. Unfortunately for him, you know, situations dictated that wasn't going to happen. You wrestle, you're the champion, and Rock's coming back, and you're getting this once-in-a-lifetime match, Rock versus Cena. Guess what? You're not main eventing that fucking show. Like,
and I think
it happened, but it really, like I said, that one took him to new heights. I mean, he was popular before that, but then that's when CM Punk, the Martyr, was born.
Yeah.
And that everybody was like, you know what? You're right, this and that. But again, the act of him cutting that promo that got him immensely over, even more over than he was an act that people can relate to, because people have been in jobs where, again, they're doing their best. They are the best at what they do, but because someone is who they know, not what they know, they're at the top. They're at the executive. They have a seat at the table.
That's right. That's right. And to be fair, you know, Sage Mode brought it up because he said part of the reason that Punk left was because of the losses. Because he kept eating losses to guys like The Rock, who come around once every 2 years. And he's like, I got to take this fucking loss. And then The Rock's going to go away and not come back. And where does that leave me?
No, and I get that. And that's a valid thing. But that's for him. To the fans, wins and losses don't matter.
Interested to hear
your
takes,
because,
guys.
again, until I had listened to that him on Cole Cabana's podcast. I never even thought of the fact that, yeah, he ate the loss to Lesnar. Next day, he's on Raw. Lesnar's gone. He ate the loss to Triple H. Next day, he's there, and Triple H is gone. Undertaker, you know?
Yeah.
The Rock. I mean, I didn't think about that until he brought it up.
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. Red Leaf says, I would agree to give me someone who wins and earns a title. At least give me that for the mid-card titles. And that's... You know, I'm with you on that. I'd kind of like to see them go in that direction as well. 832-937-4559.
That's 832-93-SILGAY
is the number if you want to get in and chat with us rather than just following along in the chat room. But we appreciate the discussion tonight, guys. It's been a very good discussion so far. Juanito and Get the Tables, thank you guys for the super hearts over there on Periscope. So it'll be interesting to see how things play out going forward. I'm, you know. We disagree on this point, but we disagree on plenty. So that's fine. That's perfectly fine. Damn it.
And I'm right. And
that's wrong. You always like to say. Did you see this?
Argument I need.
We mentioned this before the show got started. Did you see this guy? Speaking of people not taking things seriously, did you see this? I don't know the guy's name, so I'm just going to refer to him as the fat guy because I really don't know who he is. The fat guy on Impact that Jim Cornette freaked out about. I was showing you the video before the. I don't know if you guys saw this, but it was an Impact show. Apparently, I believe it was in Ohio, an OVE Impact, an OVE themed Impact show, where this dude, I mean, he had to be 4 bills easy.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy was gargantuan, and you know he's running, hitting the ropes like he's gonna go dive out of the ring. You know, onto this guy, but he's too fat to dive, so he kind of spills out of the ring real fucking slow, and then he's gonna jump off the apron, but then he's like, I'm not gonna make it that far, so he tells the other guy to come over to him, and basically just sits on the end of the ring and hits the guy with the double axe handle, and we get the holy shit chant.
Yeah,
you can imagine Mr. Cornette was not very pleased about that. Is that another thing that just? Because obviously, again, we talk about how back in the days of Hogan and such, it was different, the way they built guys and so on and so forth. It was also different in the fact that you pulled that kind of shit and you're probably going to get the shit kicked out of you. Or if you were a promoter who put that kind of shit on your show,
no one would want to work.
Nobody would want to work there. Is that another thing that we just got to learn to live with in this modern era of wrestling?
Yeah, essentially. I mean, did you see this one where, I think it's from Chikara, where the guy... Literally, it was called The Most Deadliest Sleeper Hold, where he picks the guy up almost like you carry your bride across the threshold, and he just starts rocking him back and forth, and then the guy, like, goes down and falls asleep, and he lays him down, and the ref quietly counts 1, 2, and as he's coming down for 3, the guy wakes up and kicks out. Fans eat that shit up. I mean, I wouldn't do it. I mean, yeah, the visible hand grenade from Chuck E. T.
Twitter eats that shit up.
Paying fans.
The 100 fans or 150 fans that go to those fucking shows eat that shit up.
No, I think they have quite a bit more than that. And see, that's the thing. I mean, it sucks because I'm a wrestling purist myself. So I look at it like this. It's funny, but like, would I want that on the show that I book? Fuck no.
Fuck no.
But also, there's a definite reason why there's companies that have legitimate wrestlers who pull, like, in any state, in any city, they have a company that has great wrestlers that may pull 50 to 150 people, and then you have those companies that pull 300 to 400, 500 people at a time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, so it's not internet like Twitter, it's actual paying motherfuckers who want to see shit like that.
Yeah.
They want to be entertained. And in this day and age, since they lifted the veil and showed that it's all a work, they want to be entertained. They don't care if it's from the wrestling. They just want to be entertained.
To me, that's why those shows are always going to pull 300-400 people. And not 3,000-4,000 people. Or 30,000 people. Or whatever the case may be.
But there's still, I mean, again, there's more of those shows pulling 300-400 people. And then you've got shows in independent town, in cities that have legitimate workers that pull maybe 50 to 100 people. And they're always going to pull that same amount of people.
Litman says, nothing will ever be worse than the Chuck Taylor invisible hand grenade as a finisher. And yeah, Brian the Guppy, that's a guy on Twitter that puts a lot of that stuff out. And seems like anything goes.
I think I will be able to challenge that. Give me some time, Lip Bandits. I'm going to think of something worse. I mean,
it could be what Redleaf says. Progress just had a show about undercover cops shooting the heels with finger guns. I saw that one as well. Seems like anything goes. Even lighting yourself on fire and throwing bricks at wrestlers. Yeah, I saw both of those as well. Yeah. The guy that lit himself on. There's a couple guys that lit themselves on fire. One guy lights himself on fire and then just runs backstage because the fire doesn't go out. Another shithead lights himself on fire, does the splash, the table doesn't break. He sets his opponent on fire for a minute, rolls out of the ring into the fucking crowd, and flaming pieces are falling all over. Like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Yeah. We went out of focus there. There we go.
Yeah, that's that shit is funny though.
If wrestling is fake, then Santa's fake too, says Revisionist Book. I hope there's no children watching, asshole. Anyway,
still real to me.
I want to get to another thing that I saw earlier today. I'm going to go to the notes here. Go to the notes. You got your notes, Silky? Of course you don't have any fucking gets. This was Jimmy Jacobs, who was a writer for WWE for about a year and a half, I guess, now over with Impact Wrestling, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And he was the one who was very unceremoniously fired after taking the picture with the Bullet Club after the Bullet Club Raw invasion thing that they did online. But there's been a lot of discussion about how Monday Night Raw in particular is written and what the writers are doing or not doing, what the McMahons are going to fix or not fix, as the case may be. And so Jimmy Jacobs wrote, or had an interview, I should say, that Wrestling Inc. actually transcribed. And I just want to read you a little bit about this because as someone who has written for film and television before, it's fucking crazy difficult, number one, as everybody's been saying. But number two, I don't think people necessarily have an understanding for just how crazy it can get, especially when you're coming up to a live show. So let me read a little bit of this to you guys. And
then we'll get to your comment stage about David Arquette.
Exactly. We'll do that. So Jacob says it's a 7 days a week job. So while there's a road team basically that travels with the wrestlers, and there's a home team, if you will, that stays in Stamford, Connecticut. So while the road team is at Raw, the home team is back at Stamford, and they're helping out with rewrites on Monday and Tuesday. But by Wednesday, the home team will have an idea of what they want to pitch to Vince. They'll have a meeting with Vince, and then he'll give us some feedback. This is on Wednesday. Sometimes he'll want to change a lot. Sometimes it's a little. Then on Thursday, the lead writers are putting together the pieces of Raw. And on Friday and Saturday, we're putting pen to paper, writing the promos. By Saturday evening, the writers send in the promos. And then by Sunday, the lead writers will put it all together into a proper script. They'll send that to Vince. And then on Monday, there's a production meeting for Raw at 1 p.m. This is 1 p.m. the day of Monday Night Raw. So basically 6 hours before they go on the air. We go through the plan, and then all the writers and agents will give their feedback. Based off those suggestions, Vince will make changes. And then as a writer on the road, I would implement those changes. We compile those changes and put it into a new version of the script. Then I tell talent what they're doing. Holy dog shit.
Yeah.
I mean, that is crazy. So you get Tuesday, Wednesday, basically, they're putting together a rough idea. They meet with Vince on Thursday or Wednesday night. He tells them what he likes, what he doesn't like. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, they spend putting the rest of the shit together, start writing up some promos, this and that. Lead writers compile it. And then the final say-so happens the day of Raw. Mm-hmm. And then the talent figures out what the hell they're going to do there. That is,
I mean,
man.
Yeah, that's crazy. And it's like for people giving.
Thank you, Young Rat, for the super hard. Sorry to interrupt, Soki.
The WWE so much shit about that. I mean, it is hard. You and I know when we did the TV show for DZW, and we only had to write for 1 hour, a 1 hour show.
Yeah.
And we still met probably about 4 or 5 hours a week just to write this 1 hour show.
Because you got injuries.
Yeah, you have injuries.
Got guys who can't show up. You got fucking car trouble.
You've got a lot of shit that you have to take into account. And then they do it, but they do it every week, twice a week, because you count Raw and SmackDown. and then the pay-per-view too. So some weeks there's 3 shows that they're writing for, and that's about 6 to 7 hours of programming they have to write every week.
And this doesn't even take into account the private conversations that have to be happening between the wrestlers and creative.
Yeah.
Creative going to the writer and saying, hey, I want to try this, I want to try that. When the fuck are they supposed to fit all that in with all this other shit that they have going on? I mean, It's insane the amount of stuff that they have. And Bobaruski says it. He mentions that Bruce Pritchard has said on a number of occasions that Vince changes his mind at the last second. Sorry, that was Mr. Politics. Bobaruski said they used to meet at Vince's house, and I know Jim Cornette tells a lot of stories that way. But here's the other thing, and people want to crush Vince for the way everything goes. And to be fair, he's the one that has the final say.
Yeah.
This is what Jimmy Jacobs had to say about Vince McMahon. The Vince factor is a huge part of writing Raw and SmackDown. Even if you took Vince out of the equation, it's an extremely difficult task to come up with new ideas, concepts, and new matches for 3 hours each week. But yeah, it's difficult writing for Vince. The prevailing goal is Vince going to like this? Or is Vince going to yell about this? And somebody said in the chat where I read this particular article, they said, I would like to see the writers asking themselves, are the fans going to like this? And not, is Vince going to like this?
Here's the thing, though. The fans don't sign their checks.
That's true.
So
that's true.
I don't give a fuck what the fans want if I'm trying to please the person that's paying enable me to provide for my family.
I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand. Now, if you want to make the argument that Vince should listen more to the fans,
yeah, I can.
Okay.
But I mean, the writers don't work for the fans, because guess what? If they write something that the fans love but he hates and he loses their job, none of them are going to put him up.
That's true. Now, Young Raf says, to be fair, Vince isn't the only one to blame. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of, Vince, Shane, Stephanie, Triple H, they all have a hand in this creative process. And so I'm sure they all have their own areas that's their area. They veto that, and then Vince, being the head person, has say over all of that. Because I reckon that, honestly, probably most of the stuff gets cleared, and I'm sure Vince sees it, but unless it's something glaring, I don't think it's that bad. You know what I mean? Because he's got so much going on. I don't know how he would have time to literally do all of this.
Yeah, no, I agree. Redleaf says it's dumb, inefficient, and the upper management is out of touch. And Sage Mode says if the fans got what they wanted, Ellsworth would be WWE champ. That was my take.
Yeah.
The other thing is, if you try to please the fans, and this is what fans don't want to hear, but I'm sorry, it's the truth. If you try to please the fans, you're going to fail miserably 9 times out of 10, because fucking fans are fickle, as Daniel Bryan likes to say. I don't have the sounder here with me. Fickle. And they change their minds every other fucking week as to what they want and whether they're going to cheer or they're going to boo.
Plus, they like that. They secretly like this fact that they're not always getting what they want. It's almost equated to like a relationship. Like, women don't want somebody that's just going to agree to everything and let them run over.
Fair point.
Like, they want that little pushback every now and then. They want someone that's going to at least care enough and stand up enough to put their foot down and say, hey, I think this is wrong. I guarantee you that. So fans are kind of like that situation. Is like, if you give them everything they want all the time, they lose fucking interest.
That's right. And Jody said it, but we all buy tickets in the merchandise at the end of the day.
At the end of the day.
Keep doing that.
At the end of the day. I'm in a Bullet Club shirt.
I'm in my Seth Rollins from the WWE Slam crate.
Yeah.
That I get every other month. So, yeah. That's the problem with Impact Wrestling, says Young Raph. They let the fans run their show. And, Young Raph is the go-to. I know he is on Dr. Huge's show, especially for Impact Wrestling.
Because Young Raph's the only one crazy enough to watch that.
There you go. There's a serious part of the fan base, and there's those who treat it all as a joke, says Bobaruski. I agree with you there. It's just the McMahons playing everybody. They complain, but they keep buying merch and tickets, as Revisionist Book says. Totally agree there. And Redleaf says, then why are fans always happy going home after every show that's non-WWE? I don't know. The fans are always happy going home
always
after
happy
every.
going home. I mean,
But
they're happy with the show, but I mean, I book shows where sometimes the bad guy ends up winning in dirty fashion. They still go home happy for the show, and it makes them want to come back because they want to see that guy get his comeuppance at the end.
And
if I did that from the jump, nobody would care.
And I also think that, again, if you're comparing, say, New Japan does what, one show a month? Their pay-per-views, basically. I mean, they're big shows, and that's it. Like, it's going to be a much bigger deal and a much easier job, I would tend to say, to do that than to try to produce what you're looking at is upwards of 25 to 30 hours of live television every month. That's not to say it can't be done and it can't be better, because I certainly agree that it could be done better. And judging by what we're hearing from this Jimmy Jacobs, holy shit, man, it's pretty crazy. 25 writers on the writing team, and people asked if that seemed like too much. And putting together 5 hours of live programming, no. I don't think it seems like too much if you consider all the people that they have.
And also, I mean, when you have, the more you have that are knowing about writing, they have different ideas. So it creates a variety of ideas you can use. Because if you have 3 or 4 people that have the same ideas all the time, you know, the show gets stale. You need more people to provide more points of view, even if you're not using them right then and there, to come back to that and approach it from a different angle.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
So I think that, that's not too many people, especially for, like you say, 30 to 40 hours of live programming a month. Like, that is a lot.
Yeah, and Jody says going to events should be an experience, and I agree. And that's partly why, you know, Silky and I, Raw was just in town a couple weeks ago here in Houston, and we weren't chomping at the bit like we usually are when Raw comes through town because, quite frankly, you know, it's left a little bit to be desired. But hopefully,
I mean, I actually had fun the last time because I haven't been to Raw before that time I went with you in a long time, like probably 6, 7, 8 years.
Yeah, it's still fun to go.
Yeah, it's still fun to go to, but I mean, the experience, I don't know if I actually had a great experience there. You know, I had a great time hanging out with a friend and watching the show, but like just the experience, there are people's fucking standing up, holding up fucking signs. And so it's like either you stand up for 4 fucking hours or, you know, I was literally almost to a point where I was about to yell at some like 8-year-old girl to put her fucking sign down before I murder her mother in front of her.
Exactly.
Like, it was horrible, that part. But
Silky, and then did you guys hear that? Did you guys notice that Silky just said hanging out with a friend? He was talking about me.
Yeah,
it's his gimmick.
My brother was at the show.
It's his gimmick that he doesn't like hanging out with the Speez, but you know, we know what it's.
No, I like hanging out with Speez because Speez inherently will do something stupid and I can make fun of him for it.
Well, you got that going for you.
Yeah.
Before SmackDown got involved, WWE probably had less writers. Says Bob Ruski. You're probably right. Take WWE for what it is and go in with an open mind, and who knows, you may be surprised at what you get. Revisionist book. I'm not going to disagree with you there. I want Heyman behind the scenes, says Sage Mode. Just keep him away from business decisions. That's probably true.
Peace out, Young Raph.
Yeah, shout out to you, Young Raph. Thanks for stopping by. And Redleaf says, but those writers and show, I think he's talking about New Japan, never stray from their singular ideas. Wrestlers are constantly slotted, and the formula never diverts. Oh, maybe he's talking about the WWE writers in that regard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a perfect science, and clearly they look. The change that everybody was, not everybody, but plenty of people were bitching didn't happen this week because God forbid it doesn't happen the 3 hours after they mentioned that it's going to change. I took at least a little bit of comfort in the fact that they came out and said, look, we hear what you're saying. It's been shitty and it's going to get better. I'm going to give them a chance to get better.
Now, here's something. I was listening to Busted Open and I thought this was a good idea. You know how they basically Shane started off the Raw thing, and you know I heard it, but I was like, maybe I didn't hear when he was introduced the former general manager Paige, and then you know said she's going to have some new position, but didn't expound on what that was. But here's my thing: is why do you think that is? Because people generally have been high on SmackDown and low on Raw.
True. Yep.
So why, if Raw sucks, are you making these unilateral changes across the board?
Yeah, that's what a lot of people said. I honestly don't have an answer for you. I don't have an answer for you. It seems like SmackDown was the if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It seemed to be going fairly well. But, you know, and again, this is another thing where we don't know.
Paige essentially got fired because Raw sucks.
And we don't know if there's something else going on behind the scenes with Paige.
I'm sure it's something going. I think what they're honestly going to do, and I heard on the Busted Open, I thought that would actually be good. You know how Raw has Renee Young as the commentary? Yes. What if they move Paige to commentary?
Yeah, that's another thing I've been hearing as well.
Like to have a woman on Raw and a woman on SmackDown full-time commentary. Because, I mean, really, I wasn't very high on Paige as the general manager.
I wasn't either. And I asked this on Twitter the other day. Do we really need GMs on wrestling shows?
You do. I mean, on televised wrestling, maybe not too many of the indies, but like on televised wrestling shows, because there's got to be someone that's in charge.
That's fair. That's
because
fair. I'd
without
like to see
that, then, you know, wrestlers could come out and just say this and that and, you know, make their own type of matches and all that. That's the perception.
Yeah.
That's why it's a bigger deal. And normally when they come out and make that match, it's a fucking authority figure who comes out and says, you know what? I make the matches, but I like your idea, so I'm going to give that to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing is somebody mentioned this, and again, I'd give them credit if I knew who it was. Somebody on the chat room that I was reading this article on. I'd like to see the GMs on the main roster shows be more similar to William Regal. To me, William Regal nails that job because he doesn't make the segments about him. It's not about him. It's about, you know, he only comes in and steps in when storyline he feels like he needs to. And I think they do a brilliant job with William Regal. And I would love to see the GM take that kind of a role. We don't need a Baron Corbin style GM where he's in the center of everything and he's a character in and of himself. Let the GM just be somebody that helps storylines along, and we still keep it about the wrestlers at the end of the day. But no offense, but the only British person I can stand on commentary is Nigel, says Bob Ruski. Okay. I like the GM idea they got in NXT behind closed doors, not always seen. Yeah, Redleaf, I'm with you on that, definitely. So, before we get out of here this evening, Silky, Monday is Christmas Eve. Now, we will also have Monday Night Raw going on. You and I probably should have talked about this before the show. We might as well talk about it now. We're going to be doing a show on Monday night?
I don't know.
Okay, well, we may be here on Monday night, or we may not.
We will send out a tweet about it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking no, but let's find out.
All right. Well, worst case scenario, I'll jump on and say hello to everybody on Monday night. We can at least keep something going and have somebody here. So, because we know some of you will get lonely on Christmas Eve.
No. Really?
So
that's
why not spend your Christmas Eve with your boys?
So that's how you want to get
benchmark.
people to watch our show? I know some of you ain't got shit going on in your life. Y'all ain't got family that loved you.
Not.
You're going to be lonely by yourself with your fucking cat.
We love you guys, and we would do anything for you guys, including coming on Christmas Eve to spend some time with you. So
they want a too sweet.
They're not getting a too sweet.
Because he's
it's
a
not
fucking
gonna happen.
Grinch.
I'm not a Grinch.
That doesn't care about what his fans... He's the Vince McMahon of Speez and the Benchmark. He doesn't care what our fans want.
Not the case. You want to shout out our wonderful fans who gave us the super hearts here today on the program before we say goodnight.
Shout out to Anthony, Mac Diesel, Jeff Cross, Lit Manis, Young Reezy, Juanito, and Michael Berry Sr.
Shout out to all of you guys and to the great discussion tonight on the show, man.
Yeah, very good show.
Chat room was on fire tonight. We appreciate that. All of you guys who shared the program, as the kids like to say. So
as of Thursday, or as of Saturday, I'm officially a year older, so I can say that. The kids used to say that.
That's right. That's right. So
I mean, I'm not quite your age though.
Thanks to all of you. Yeah, you're not going to catch up to me anytime soon.
Yeah.
Thanks to all of you who shared the program. We hope you'll continue to do so. If you haven't subscribed yet, do us a favor and do that. Turn those notifications on.
Christmas gift. Give them a too sweet. Come on.
Merry Christmas to you, Jeffrey Cross. But yeah, we're not doing a too sweet. That's not the Christmas spirit, says Joe. Okay, whatever.
Oh, did you message me? What did you mean when you messaged me? Like, what's with the Mustafa Ali guy? Like,
just kind of like, everybody loves Mustafa Ali. I think he's a great guy.
Oh, I thought it was
Seems
because
like a cool guy.
Because
damn near killed Daniel Bryan on that was crazy.
And got the pin. Like, I don't know which one was it more. Like, he came in and he pinned Daniel Bryan, like, second match on SmackDown.
That's a pretty good deal.
And he killed him with the 450.
Yes,
or inverted
yes,
450.
Anything else we got to get out there before we say goodnight? Thank you very much,
Nope.
Mac Diesel. Get the tables. We appreciate it, guys. Thank you for the support as always. And we will look forward to seeing you on Christmas Eve right here on the Speez and the Benchmark. So for the Benchmark Silky Banes.
Yo.
Chris Spizak. We will see you guys Christmas Eve.
He's Vince
following
McMahon,
Monday Night
and
Raw.
He doesn't care what you want.
Right here on the Speez and the Benchmark Show. Good night, everybody.